performance there very nearly undermine a great performance from your team tonight?
Well, it hasn't because we've won the game, but I take your point, and I wasn't happy with it. I think the lads, well, the referee apparently has admitted it was a handball that kept John McAtee's header out. I think he probably should have scored anyway from what I've been told, but he's saying he's too close to the player for it to be a sending off, or at least a penalty. I don't get it, because then if he's saying that that's too close, well, surely Will's too close when the lad throws it at his head, realistically. Don't know, there was something about jumping, but he was thrown at his head, let's not kid ourselves. And that was, I think, 2 fouls by Will all night, and it's ended up with him being sent off, and as you say, causes a lot nervier ending, because in fairness, I didn't think the first goal I've just looked back at, we defend it, it comes back out, and my first thoughts, you know, I just said it to him there, I thought that Mackie should have saved it. Whenever I look back on the video, Riley Towler's right in his eye line, and then the ball kind of kills away from him. So I can't be too critical of that one. And the second one's a corner. Now, managers always say you can do better from that. But overall, I didn't think they opened us up. We had to defend some set plays, of course, a few shots from distance. But if anything, the worry was that we didn't get the fourth when we could have killed them off, and we had a couple of really good opportunities with some excellent football.
So how would you best sum up your evening then?
Right now, I'm not as happy as I should be, although we have won, because we've had to work harder. You know, we've got a game on Saturday coming up, a travel again, and yeah, it was just frustrating that we had to feel like you kind of hanging on, albeit didn't feel like Mackham had to make too many saves there, really, or not ones that, you know, maybe I could have made as well.
What were you thinking of your side's performance at 3-0 ahead then?
I thought we'd done pretty well first off. I was pleased with some of the information that we asked the players and gave them in terms of trying to negate an Altrincham team that play very good football. I'd just been to with the league leaders and won on Saturday, and you know, even the Dagenham manager said that they deserved the victory. And I think we stopped so much of that play from them and kind of sort of strangled him a little bit almost. Scored a good goal again from Will, was pleased for him. And then at the start of the second half, I think the way that we came out, that was right up there with a performance. I think it was the third goal. I think Macca has a bad touch, but it was just great football. And that's what I see in training often. He's in small-sided games, things like that. They then brought that to the main game when it counts. So I was really happy with, you know, a lot of tonight's performance. Like I say, it just kind of made you feel slightly different about it because of how it played out after the sending off.
Did you fear that they were going to get a late equalising goal?
Yeah, I said that to him there. You can't help yourself. And even like when it was 3-0 and it was all 11 v 11, I'm standing there and you kind of think, well, I know the way they play. You know, again, the manager's comments at the weekend was he didn't feel he could stop Dagenham from scoring, but they fancied themselves to score. So that's kind of the mentality they got, which probably still gives them some kind of belief there. And when the sending off happens and they get the first one, you know, the crowd are back up. And like I said, we thought we kept a discipline to us. But what I don't think they're the best team to play against when you're down to 10 men. I can think of other teams. I think back to years ago, Lincoln, when I was at Grimsby, and we came back and got a draw. Because of the way they played, they didn't utilise extra man, whereas I think Altrincham stretched the pitch. They, like I said, they like to pass it, so it made it more difficult than perhaps it might be against some teams.
At 3-0, was that the best you've played this season, would you say?
I think it has to be at times, certainly like that second half. It was a quick start to it, we get the goals. Like I said, the frustration after that is you don't get a fourth. And that's not, I don't think that's being greedy. There were really good opportunities that we didn't take. So we keep talking about trying to be ruthless, something that we kind of, or the lads decided pre-season to go on about. And while you don't score every single chance you get, that'll never happen. I think there is that of just trying, it's maybe just an example of what can happen no matter how comfortable you are in a game, whether it is a refereeing decision, a mistake, or perhaps you make your subs and then you get an injured player. You just never quite know in this game. That's why the fans love it, and Altrincham fans there would have been, I'm sure, almost celebrating like a victory had they come back and made it 3-0.
What did you make of the work rate of your team tonight?
Good initially, and then it was more about discipline. They worked hard, shuffling more side to side rather than running up and down the pitch. But when we got that first pass off, even when we were defending, I thought we broke quite well at times from the shape of the sort of 2 banks of 4. Different ways to play with 10 men. Just felt that tonight that was the best way because of how they got they keep the pitch wide, so we wanted sort of full backs and wide players in front of them. Had we been stood here talking 3-0 or even worse, of course I'd question myself and think, was there a better way to do it? And I'll still think about that, but certainly at the time and in the heat of the game, I suppose that's the best way that I thought it was, to try and still give us a threat of some kind, but also negate some of their better players.
What was the overriding emotion then in the dressing room after that?
No, they're happy. I kind of probably dampened it a bit with a couple of comments, and then you did him a big sort of cheer, just a word, and they're happy. And that's kind of what you in this job for, is as much as I'd love to still be out there, I wish I could do that. The next best thing is doing what I'm doing, but that feeling in a dressing room when, and particularly sometimes how you win a game. Saturday was great, but realistically we knew the game was over at half time. You go in the dressing room, you're happy, it's a great win, but that feels kind of more special because of how it played out. And had it not been sort of the sending off, we might have felt a bit more comfortable in there, but how it played out at the end, my emotions, I want to go straight over to the fans and let a bit of emotion out rather than taking out on the referee and perhaps getting sent off myself. And then it's back down to earth and thinking about walking.
Well done on the win, Paul. Go and dry off, won't you?
Again, third time.
Thanks for your time tonight.
All right, thank you, cheers.